Hi, I'm Ginger Kathrens, and I'd like to share with you a short video that my friend Susan Wagner did. She is the head of Equine Advocates in New York, and it's a look at her wonderful facility where two lovely prior Mustangs live, Hayden and most recently Kachina. But Susan also delves into the disaster plan that is in Congress that would eradicate most of the wild horses and burros in the West. It's absolutely horrible. And I think Susan articulates this so well. So take a look and please share it with everyone you know. And comment if you haven't already. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Hello again. I'm Susan Wagner, and we're here for our third installment of our tour of the sanctuary here at Equine Advocates, and introducing all of you to each of our horses who live here and are permanent residents at the sanctuary. Today we're going to be focusing on wild horses and burros because this issue is hot right now. Some of you may know about a disastrous plan that the federal government is trying to get approved called the Path Forward, which is a waste of $1 billion over a 10-year period to round up hundreds of thousands of wild horses and burros. We're calling it the Path Backward. The Cloud Foundation, which is at the forefront of this issue and trying to fight it, they're calling it the Wild Horse Disaster Plan, which is basically what it is. But we have 3 horses here at the sanctuary. I'm standing right here right now with Nelson, who's a gorgeous, handsome horse. He was captured in 1999 as a foal in the state of Nevada. And while it's an honor to have him here and have the other wild horses that we have at the sanctuary here with us, I would give anything for them to be back on the range, but that's just not going to be possible. None of the 3 that we have did well in captivity, and all needed to be rescued. And so we're focusing on their issues today because as of right now, the government's plan is to basically eradicate them, and that's going to be done with this very expensive policy that really is supported by people who are in favor of horse slaughter. And there are a couple of, surprisingly and mystifyingly, there are a couple of animal groups supporting it. We have no idea why, but all I can say is that our main sources of information when it comes to wild horses and burros are to deal with people like Ginger Kathrens of the Cloud Foundation, Suzanne Roy of the American Wild Horse Campaign, R.T. Fitch of the Wild Horse Freedom Federation. That's just to name a few. There are many really wonderful activists and people out there rescuing and working on behalf of wild horses and burros. We have a sanctuary here, so we've been able to give a home to 3 of them. But basically, it's so that we can not only help them, but also inform the public and educate them about what's going on, because unless things turn around, there won't be another one left on the range. They belong on the range, not in captivity. And Nelson was captured, as I said, in '99. We have Hayden, who was part of a terrible roundup with helicopters on the Pryor Mountains in 2009 when he was only 2 years old. And Kachina, who is our most recent arrival, came here on May 10th of this year, on Mother's Day, and she had been rounded up as a 2-year-old on the Pryor Mountains as well. She was bait trapped. And so we're going to be talking a little bit about all 3 of them, and then asking all of you to take action now. It's really important that the public expresses their views, and there's nothing better to help wild horses and burros than to have, people, a public outcry. He's distracted me, but I don't mind that. So this is Nelson. As you can see, we have this beautiful area for him. It's about 3 acres. We did have another wild horse out here, but we had to remove him from this area because he developed metabolic disease. That's Hayden, and can no longer have grass. And so Nelson shares this beautiful area with a donkey who's not wild, but he's a 900-pound donkey named Pedro. who had been abandoned in New York State, and we got him here in the summer of 2018. So this is Nelson, and we're on our way now to introduce you to Hayden and Kachina. I'm standing here with Hayden. He was a member of the iconic Pryor Mountain wild horse herd in Montana. Sadly and tragically, Hayden was rounded up with other horses in 2009 during a brutal roundup by the Bureau of Land Management, or BLM. He ended up in a BLM auction. He ended up on Craigslist. He ended up in a show barn. He was in a Mustang makeover, and during which time he didn't do very well. He was just shuffled from place to place like so many of them, and finally was rescued by the Cloud Foundation in Colorado, which is where we got him. We had two Mustangs here, Nelson and another Mustang named Willie, and sadly Willie had passed away, and we were looking for a buddy for Nelson, and Hayden seemed like the perfect match, and they were, until he developed metabolic disease, which meant that he had to come off the grass. So as you can see, we're standing in a large dirt paddock, which is not really where we'd like to see him live. We actually are building a new area for him in Kachina, which doesn't have grass in it, and which is bigger, so that they can be together and run around together. But the main point is that these horses do not belong in captivity. We are very honored to have them here, but as I said before, I wish they could be on the range. That's where they belong. This is Kachina. She's our newest arrival. She came here on May 10th, which was Mother's Day, and she's going to be, hopefully, Hayden's new companion. We're building a new area for them, as I mentioned. Kachina came from Pryor Mountain royalty. Her father was Baja, her mother was Washakie. And same thing with Hayden. His parents were Brumby, that was his mother, and his father was Jackson, who recently passed away. Brumby is still alive. Both of Kachina's parents are no longer with us, but her little sister is, and we will have footage that Ginger Kathrens recently shot on the Pryor Mountains of her little sister soon in one of our other segments.
This is truly an amazing piece of rare archival footage shot by Ginger Kathrens in 2010. The pale palomino was the great wild stallion Cloud, who is the inspiration for Ginger Kathrens to found the Cloud Foundation. With him is the dun stallion Baja, who is Kachina's sire. Off to the left is baby Kachina with her mother Washakie, all of them living free on the Pryor Mountains as nature intended. This is a sign put up by the Bureau of Land Management. It uses the word gather. Gather is a benign word for a roundup. What they're actually doing here is bait trapping. This is how Kachina was captured during a bait trapping roundup on the Pryor Mountains. It's not the same as a roundup where they're chased by helicopters, but either way, these horses are captured and then removed from their homes.
During these video tours of Equine Advocates Rescue and Sanctuary, we're going to be visiting with all 80 equines here. But the reason we wanted to focus on wild horses today is because there is an urgent issue connected to the wild horse and burro issue in America, which is why we need everybody. We need a major public outcry to stop the approval of the Path Forward, which is a horrible program. It will put 200,000 wild horses and burros in jeopardy over 10 years, if there are even that many. I don't know, and I don't even know if we have an accurate count of them. But it promotes these brutal roundups. It promotes surgical sterilizations of mares, which is absolutely ridiculous and cruel and unnecessary. There's never any reason to sterilize a mare unless she has cancer. And so it's just a waste of taxpayer dollars and takes away from the most important aspect, is that these animals need to remain free and wild on the range. We're very happy to have the three that are here, but they all had to be rescued, as I mentioned before. I'd rather see them out on the range, but they're here, and hopefully through their stories we can better help educate the public about the plight of America's wild horses and burros. What we need you to do is contact your members of Congress, your 2 senators, your 1 member of the House of Representatives, say that you oppose the Path Forward and that you want to see wild horses and burros protected. You want to see an end to the roundups. You want to see an end to these ghoulish and barbaric sterilization operations, and you want to see some actual progress in allowing these animals to live where they're supposed to live. Now, if you visit our website, on the home page there will be links where you can write to your members of Congress. I think the most effective thing is to fax a letter and then follow up with a phone call. But if you're unable to fax, send an email and then follow up with a phone call. Whatever you can do would help, but it's urgent, and we need everybody to take action now. So for the sake of the preservation and protection of America's wild horses and burros, I hope you'll act today. And when we are back open again, which I'm not sure when we will be because of the pandemic, but when we do open up, I hope you'll come and visit and meet Kachina and Hayden and Nelson. Thank you. See you next time.